Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome to International Student Stories, where we share authentic stories from international students studying in the US. My name is Simon Hamlin. I'll be your guide on this journey. Hi, Luisa.
Hi, Simon.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're thrilled to have you here. You are actually our first on a number of levels. One of the fun things about launching a new podcast, we're about 7, 8 episodes in, is everything is a first. You are our first German student, you are our first scholarship athlete, and you are our first television news reporter.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay.
And I want to talk about all of those things today. We're going to start with your background coming from Germany and coming to the US to play volleyball at Madonna University. Now, before we
Sounds
get to
good.
your US time, let's go back to your childhood in Potsdam, Germany. What was it like growing up in Potsdam? What are spots that you would want people to see if they were just visiting you for the first time?
Oh, wow, that's a very good question. Yeah. So in Germany, of course, I always compare it to the US being here, but we definitely have a lot of public transport. People walk a lot. There are a lot of parks. So in my hometown, definitely there are a lot of castles. The way you, I think, imagine Germany, that's how my town kind of, or city kind of looks like. And yeah, I'm an only child and always played volleyball. And for a little bit, I also danced. But then, I needed to decide between the two because there was no way I could do both at the same time on the weekends. So I always stick with volleyball. And yeah, school played a big part of it. And when I was in eighth grade, that's when I visited a radio channel for the first time. And that's basically how my passion for journalism started.
How did you decide to stick with volleyball over dancing?
I think I was able to kind of achieve something with dance in a short period of time. They gave a cup to when we won a cup, they only gave it to one person because there was only one cup. And then at the end of the season, I got one, so then I felt very accomplished. And I mean, volleyball was kind of what I liked the people a lot. They were my closest friends at the time, so I felt good letting dance go and just sticking with volleyball. Yeah.
At what point did you start to think this volleyball thing could actually take me to the US on a scholarship?
Wow, that's yeah. So one girl from my volleyball club, she went to the US to study and play volleyball. And when she did that, I thought, wow, that would actually be the perfect solution for me because I always wanted to go abroad. And it's very common for German students to go abroad at least for 1 year or, after we study also to do work and travel or something like this. But I thought studying in the US and playing volleyball would combine everything. And I would learn English, wouldn't waste time, would go directly into studying. So that was the main reason.
What was your parents' reaction?
I think they saw it coming that I would want to go abroad because
Did
I
they?
already wanted, yes, because I already wanted to go abroad for the high school exchange year, but I was kind of too young, at the time to figure out the scholarship situation myself, and it's still very expensive. So that didn't work out. And instead, I went to Argentina for 3 months. And so they knew that I always wanted to leave to other places. So and I'm happy they let me go, kind of. I'm sure hoping that I would come back soon.
Have they been able to come out and visit you at all?
Yes, and actually my mom is going to come in a couple of days, so I'm very excited
Oh, lovely.
to see her after a year. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And in Germany, actually I'm gonna switch this. When you did come to the US, what were some of the toughest adjustments for you?
In the beginning, definitely the language. I didn't expect it because in Germany we're supposed to supposedly have a very good education, and I thought English I will be fine, but it was a little bit harder than I thought. So people were just talking too fast, especially being a part of the volleyball team. Everybody was just talking. And, I was also I've never been very outgoing. So that was a challenge as well. And when I wanted to say something, I wanted it to be the perfect sentence, So by the time I prepared the sentence in my head, the conversation was already over. And that was definitely one thing. And that also played a role in making friends, because of course, when you go abroad, there's this pressure. Okay, I have to find friends, because if not, might feel alone or something like that. And, the other people on my team, the other girls, didn't have that because they already had their friends like 30 minutes away or an hour away, and they had their family. So I feel maybe they didn't feel the same pressure with that, but I felt because of the language barrier, I couldn't show myself the way I was, and I couldn't make jokes or anything. And that was very difficult in the beginning, but I would say after 3 months, that was fine, but the 3 months just felt very long.
I bet. What were the things that helped you overcome that?
So it definitely helped to have a lot of American friends or contact to Americans in the beginning, because I know that because I didn't take ESL classes because my English was good enough to take normal classes, and so I know that other people that take ESL tend to then stick to their nationalities, then they make friends with other people from their country, which is great. And that's what I did in Argentina, but I didn't learn any Spanish in Argentina because of that. So I think that helped me a lot, because first of all, there weren't any Germans, and then I didn't take ESL classes. And then I also applied for a barista job on campus and forced myself to talk to people. So that was, one of the other main things.
So you threw yourself into the fire. You just
Yeah,
went right into it.
I just had to.
Good for you. I think that's the other international students that we've talked to. That's a really common theme. It's just you have to get out of your comfort zone and throw yourself into really uncomfortable situations. And what better way than to be a barista and have to take orders and speak to people in a rush and jacked up on coffee all day.
Yeah, and small talk and everything. Yeah, so that's definitely. So did the other students that you talked to do something like that as well?
They all had different stories. I think that would actually be a first on the barista side, but they took jobs at school or they were part of clubs.
Oh, yeah.
They joined a sorority. So everyone was a little bit different, but it did have that same common theme of they were putting themselves in a really uncomfortable situation and kind of sinking or swimming.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is the way to
tough.
do
it. Yeah.
And how was it being a part of a team? So you were at Madonna University on scholarship for volleyball. Did it help having that team there as a initial community to be a part of?
Yes, that definitely helped initially, especially because I always had my volleyball coach to go to for questions, or every team has multiple coaches. So there's always the support. And also, I think it's very good that in the US, there's always a student advisor, which is very helpful. From the journalism department, I always had one of the main professors to talk to. And yeah, being part of the team, so it was positive in that aspect, but it was also challenging because it's very different from what I was used to in Germany. And I knew I would have to adjust to the level of playing and the expectations. And in the US, it's a lot more physical, like the preparation for volleyball. And I never had that many practices before, like on a regular basis, because school was always more important kind of in my situation in Germany. So I kind of knew what I was getting into, but like with all the like being so loud on the field and everything, that was definitely something I had to get used to, because it's not, something I would feel I'm comfortable with either. So another thing I had to get out of my comfort zone, to scream words that I didn't feel comfortable saying, or because they were new. And then definitely was a lot of pressure, because of course there's a lot of competition. And yeah, being a part of a sports team, you want to play, but it's also hard because you have to prove yourself all the time. And yeah, that can be tough because, for example, we were over 20 girls, and yeah, 6 play, start, and of course there are substitutions, but you know what I'm saying.
I do. And now
Yeah.
it sounds like that was a lot different than what you experienced in Germany.
Yeah, we were fewer players, I would say around 12, and that was almost double. So that was definitely a difference. And then in Germany, we don't have high school sports like we do here in the US. So in Germany, we have to participate in clubs after school, which is, not the main priority, how like the way it is in the US. So I would go to practice 2 or 3 times a week, not every day after school.
If you had stayed in Germany and gone to college in Germany and played volleyball there, or I guess, first of all, can you play volleyball in college in Germany?
Not really.
Not really.
Only,
Okay. So it would be
yeah,
club.
so yeah, because anybody could sign up for the school volleyball team, and then it's not competitive at all. Like there,
It would have been a totally
um,
different experience then if you had stayed in Germany and continued to want to pursue volleyball versus coming to the US.
yes. So for me, it was okay. I will go to the US. I will see how much I can really improve to like prove myself or come to an end with volleyball, kind of. I mean, of course, in Germany you can play an adult league and stuff like that, but I don't know if that's something I would want to do.
What are you proudest of in your experience as a volleyball player at Madonna?
Oh, as a volleyball player, I think just that I got through it because it was very mentally challenging. And yeah, I just had a lot of challenges with one of the coaches or with some of the players, so that was very difficult. So I'm proud that I got through that. That's basically the main thing. Yeah.
That's a big accomplishment. And I watched an interview with one of your former teammates. She also
Mhm.
is an international student. How many other international students, if any, were there on your team when you were there?
Actually, like two more, but they were from New Zealand and Australia. So that was a little bit different for them because they didn't have those language barrier. And I think their cultures also match maybe a little bit better. So I felt like they could blend in more easily, even when I was talking to my Polish friend. So
And
yeah.
were there other international students in other sports at Madonna?
Oh yeah, yes, for sure. So other sports had a lot more international students, and it was very nice to connect with them later on. So those were honestly those were like the friends that stuck around and that are still my friends. So it's very nice that the connection I was able to make with other international students from Brazil or Venezuela or Poland.
Did you
Yeah.
find their experiences were similar or different from what you were going through?
No, definitely similar. And I think it's very helpful to connect with other international students, not when it comes to the language, but I think definitely to find somebody who, asks you the right questions, asks you if you miss your family, or, it's more because they're probably feeling similar things, and that's why I think it's a better, or even if somebody grew up in Europe, they are more likely to have experienced similar school systems and stuff like that. So yeah.
And you were a good hookup. They always knew where to go for a good cup of coffee, right?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Probably made you
That's
some friends.
um yeah, a little bit. It definitely helped me talk to people a lot and practice small talk because in Germany we don't do a lot of small talk. It's very, mm, I think how you imagine Germans, a little bit colder, and we only talk about the things that are necessary, not really about how the day is going. So that was very nice here. And yeah, and then sometimes I was able to give them a coffee for free. But
Are there certain things that you find help bring you out of your shell and get out of that more formal what you said is more of that stereotypical German?
yeah, I think definitely always doing the things, not thinking about it too much, just taking the job, going with it. And then also having American friends, seeing what they are doing. I had one friend, she was always saying hi to everybody. So like after a while, I kept saying hi to people. So definitely the repetition and just getting out of your comfort zone over and over again.
Did they make any special accommodations for you as an international student? Did they have any special programs on the athletic side of things to help support, or were you thrown in as if you were like any other domestic student?
Yeah, athletic wise, it was just, I think, the same as anybody else. Of course, the coaches were saying like, oh, on the weekends, like in the beginning, they connected me with some girls. So if there was nothing going on the weekends, somebody would take me home with them. So they think about the fact that if I wouldn't go with anybody, I would be alone in my room. So that's definitely something that I got help with. And, of course, and then there are resources, like the coaches are resources for like how to maybe get the driver's license or a car and those things. So it's definitely good to have this athletic family, I would say.
And when you
Yeah.
did go home to other teammates' families and get to be with them on holidays or breaks, were there any traditions or things that really
Yeah.
stood out that you liked that you weren't used to from Germany?
Yeah, like Thanksgiving, we don't have Thanksgiving at home, so that was awesome. Every year I went home with somebody, so that was very, very nice to experience that. And yeah, also going to football games and all these things or other high school games as well because of their siblings or something like that. That was also very nice. And just meeting their families because then, you know, yeah, it's just like this family feeling, but also a little bit different. So that was really, really cool. Yeah.
What are the things you missed most from Germany?
Definitely my family and friends. And from the normal things, I do miss the German bread. That was always that's very good. And of course, it would be nice to have home cooked meals sometimes. Not just what I make for myself, but what my family would make.
Describe
Yeah.
that German bread for us.
So in Germany, we call what you guys call bread, we call it toast. So our bread is more thick, I think, and it's just more filling. So I don't know. I could eat 3 slices of toast and I would still be okay. And in Germany, so that's I think the difference. Like it's like bread is seen as healthy, whereas here, it's okay, it's bad, we should cut it out because it's bad carbs, kind of thing.
You've got all kinds of good grains in it and
Yes.
good ingredients that have sustenance instead of just fillers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've talked about your experiences playing volleyball as an athlete at Madonna. What advice, if any, would you give other students from Germany, from other countries who are athletes who are thinking about coming to the US to compete?
Yeah. So I think first of all, I would try to come as fit as possible. So really with like a good condition and also as strong as possible because that's a very important part in the US, I think, in all sports. And yeah, even considering because I came with an agency and I think that's very common for athletes to that want to study in the US to use an agency. But to be honest, I think it's also possible to contact coaches yourself with a highlight video and then once a coach wants you, contact the school, the international advisor, and then maybe go from there. I think there's a way to save money by trying it like this. Of course, the English skills have to be kind of good enough to do that. So I think that's maybe the main problem why people see, okay, I have to do it with an agency, but I think it's worth a try, and I think that would be advice that somebody could have given me that would have helped me.
Could you talk about the agency experience? Because I actually wasn't aware that there were agencies dedicated to helping athletes come to the US. Like at Study in the USA, we were familiar with agents who were helping students come to study in the US. but I
Yeah.
didn't realize, and it sounds like that might be kind of similar, but just on the athletic side of things. So could you
Yes.
describe that a little bit of your experience with the agency?
Yeah. So I a little bit had to prove myself to her because it's an agency that was specific for volleyball players. And yeah, she had like a lot of national players from Germany that she was trying to get scholarships for, in the US, like at NCAA schools and stuff. And of course, it helps because before I came, I didn't know about NCAA or the divisions, NAA, and stuff like that. So the person helps with that. But then, they're always, it costs a lot. And there are, because the person can, or the agency can help with a highlight video and edit that for the athlete. And of course, the agency has a lot of connections to US universities and then helps sending the video out, or if they have, I feel like, fairs or kind of like that, so they present their players. So it is helpful, especially if somebody wants to get to a big university, but I think it's really also possible without. But of course, they also help with the visa process, explain how to go to the embassy and what to say, what not to say, and how to do the SEVIS application and all of these kind of things. So that's part of the process. But on the athlete side, it's definitely the creating the connection with the coach, which is something that I think is possible, without, and
Do
also
you
creating the highlight video. I edited myself as well, but I didn't get in touch with any coaches because I thought, oh, I don't want to overstep. I don't want to do something that I don't know if I'm supposed to contact a coach or not, but people can actually do that, like here, if I would contact a coach, the worst they can do is not answer. So
and do you pay the agency out of your own pocket to represent you and help you get placed at a school?
yes, or of course I had help from my family, but yes,
And it
of
sounds
course,
like from your experience, if you had to do it all over again, you felt comfortable being a little more proactive on your own and realizing that, oh, okay, I'm not overstepping my bound by sending tapes to other schools, to coaches, to promoting yourself and not just relying on an agency to do it.
yes, I think that would definitely be helpful to do that. That could also give some security, because then you, as the athlete, you actually feel like, okay, I'm productive too. I'm not just waiting for an answer because I waited for a long time, to hear. So yeah, that's definitely something I would suggest. And then I saw it here, like how the international advisor was helping other students, so I was thinking, okay, she literally would tell them what to do exactly, how to apply for the school. I'm not sure about the visa question, like how to then figure out the student visa, but as long as the international advisor can help with that, I think it's possible.
Great. That is helpful advice.
Yeah.
So we'll see a lot of other Luisas coming into the US to compete.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So we've talked about your volleyball experiences and coming to the US. Of course, you were studying, right? At the same time,
Yeah.
you weren't just playing volleyball, you were studying and you were actually following your passion, journalism,
Yes. Yeah.
broadcast journalism. You had mentioned that when you were 13, you first got turned on to broadcast journalism, and it's been a dream ever since. Talk about the
Yes.
program at Madonna and your studies there to start prepping for your journalism career.
Yes, for sure. So I came to Madonna to study journalism and PR. And then, once I got there, I was like, oh no, I think I'm in the wrong program, because I realized that I wasn't going to be in the TV studio, because they also have a TV studio and radio, and that was part of the broadcast and cinema arts program. But then after talking to my journalism advisor, okay, I was like, okay, that's still the right decision, because broad, broadcast and cinema arts at Madonna was more about creating a movie, and for people that want to be in film production and stuff like that. So that was actually still good, but I was able to do a minor in that, and then was able to still produce a TV show on campus. So that was one of the greatest experiences I thought, because we produced a talk show called Celebrate Michigan on campus. Yeah. And then in general, in the beginning, I didn't feel comfortable doing internships off campus because, of course, I didn't feel like I could, with my English, I didn't feel comfortable yet. And yeah, so I did some internships on campus. For example, I wrote articles for the school magazine, kind of, and then I also did an internship with the athletic information department because I thought, okay, maybe sports reporting is something that would be good for me because I wasn't sure at that time anymore. I always knew before, okay, I wanted to be a news anchor, but when I got to Madonna, I thought it would be good to explore all the options. And yeah, after an internship with them, where I took pictures and I edited videos and wrote sports articles and stuff like that, was actually nice as well. I did a lot of social media during my time at Madonna, but that's something I don't want to do in the future. So that was a good thing too, to find out what I don't want to do. And
Those are the best lessons.
yeah, so
No,
yeah,
when
Madonna.
when you mentioned Celebrate Michigan show,
Mhm.
you lit up a little bit. Tell us more about that show and what you reported on and what you loved about it.
Yeah, I really liked producing as well because I felt, okay, I don't need to be in front of the camera. It's also super nice to see the product of the script because I wrote, as the producer, I wrote the script for the host of the show. And yeah, I had a few nice, interesting guests, that were like episodes I produced. And that was just super nice because I, I had all the work before the show, and then during the show, I was like, okay, the responsibility is out of my hands. There's nothing I can do if something goes wrong. So that was kind of a nice feeling, and also still having the pride of, okay, I had an impact on this. So that's something I liked. And yeah, one of the guests was a local organization for who advocates for that advocates for suicide prevention. And yeah, I just like addressing these kind of topics. Now I'm happy that I do that on a not daily basis, like a topic like this, but more often. So news is still right for me, I think, but Celebrate Michigan was really a good experience and kind of helped me also make some professional connections. I was able to do an internship with one of the guests who was on the show. He's a movie reviewer and celebrity interviewer. So then I did an internship with him. That was actually an internship off campus, so I edited his celebrity interviews, which was also a nice experience. Yeah.
And we're going to come back to your work at Fox 47, your current journalism work, and your news reporting work. But it sounds like that Celebrate Michigan and these internships were really the perfect stepping stone because you got
Yes.
a job at a Lansing station. And so all that knowledge of Michigan came into play. And then being able to produce and write, put together a show, that's all still things that you utilize on a daily basis to put together your segments that you report on.
Yes, and then also video editing as part of the other internship. So that was definitely what helped me, I think, get the job as well. Of course, it would have been great to have a TV internship, but at the time with COVID, that's what I tried. But yeah, I felt ready too late, during COVID. That's when I felt ready to have an internship like that, but then it wasn't possible anymore. So yeah, I'm glad that the other experiences were still enough to get the first job. And yeah, after I graduated, I also tried to also worked a little bit as a freelancer, so I also took pictures of people, edited those, and videos, for example, wedding videos. So all these things I did so I could keep practicing and improving those skills. And I think that's like constantly doing something that brings you forward, I think actually helps,
Just having that
Um,
forward momentum, always
yes,
one step in front of the other and making progress,
yes,
right?
yeah. And
When you
then,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, sorry, when I graduated, I also worked at a video production company first because I didn't initially get a job as a multimedia journalist. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. When you first got into the program at Madonna, could you envision yourself being on a television station as an on-air reporter?
So my goal was always to become a news anchor, but I didn't think that would happen in the US, and especially because I knew very quickly that my accent was very strong. So that's something the accent is something people constantly point out. So I didn't think it would be possible here, but I'm glad it is. And I think it just shows that we should keep trying and that we should keep believing in ourselves, because I know that it can be hard. Like in the second language, I think it's easy to doubt ourselves because we think, oh, we are not capable of this, we are not capable of this. But I think we should believe we are capable of everything we're also capable in our own language. And I know that I'm capable of these things in German. So why shouldn't I be after practicing and practicing, in English?
It is, I don't want to gloss over how big of an accomplishment it is for you to have gotten an on-air job so shortly after school. I have one of my best friends growing up. His name is Steve Bunin, and he is now a news anchor here in Seattle, Washington with King
Oh,
5. He's won Emmy Awards locally. He had a career for 10 years at ESPN. And I remember
oh.
him when he was first starting out, how hard it was to get any job. He was
Mm-hmm.
having to travel to Flagstaff, Arizona. And ironically, one of his early jobs was in Lansing.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
And he had to travel anywhere and everywhere, work for nothing. He had gaps where there was a year or two where he couldn't find a job. It's hard. And he
Wow. Yeah.
went to Syracuse, went to a top university for journalism and broadcast, and he is super talented. And it took a lot. So for you to be able to find a job, not only a job, but in Michigan, in the area where you're already at, and to overcome the accent and still be able to find a position so early on is a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, but I want people to know that, I got a lot of no's. I was denied a lot, just so that people know that that's also part of it. It's not just, you know, but your example perfectly shows it because, yeah, I can relate to having this struggle of, working hard and not knowing what's next or all these things, because I feel like I know where all my colleagues are at also. They think about where the next step will be, so that's also uncertain because who knows which station in the US is going to take us next, so yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen the next month, the next year. So I guess it's just enjoy what you've got right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your favorite questions to ask someone when you do get to interview them?
I think it's always good to ask if they can describe like a certain situation or a memory, because then it can lead to something that I wasn't aware of before, instead of just questions that would just clarify things that I was already reading about or something. So I like to ask that. I always ask at the end if there's anything they would like to add, because there's always something that still might come up. And yeah.
How does TV journalism differ in Germany from the US?
So since I never had a job in German television like yet, I cannot completely compare the two. But first of all, I think that we don't have as many opportunities in Germany just because the country is way smaller and there are just not as many channels. And then I also think it's a little bit more maybe straightforward, a little bit more monotone, maybe not as many. I think in Germany we don't portray as many feelings and stuff. Whereas here, when I ask somebody for criticism, they were saying, "Oh, you need to show if it's a happy story. You need, whereas in my mind is, oh no, I cannot show it's happy because then I'm judging it, because whereas it's not a bad thing to show, okay, a dog story can be something happy or something, you know.
And you've overcome a lot of challenges to get where you are, especially being from overseas and making your way in the US. When are times when you've said to yourself, you know what, being from overseas is actually helping me in my job and giving me an advantage over some of my US born colleagues?
Yeah, I've actually, that I felt that recently because I did some stories on bilingual students in high school and stories on Afghan refugees and Ukrainian refugees. And of course, I'm not a refugee and cannot relate to that, but I feel like if they're shy talking to me because they have a language barrier, or yeah, if they talk about some experiences they had in their country or what they experienced coming here as something that's new, I feel like I can relate to them. Or I also did a story on international students, then of course I could easily, and student athletes, so I could easily relate to that. But I think that really helps me because, for example, I did a story on Chinese businesses and somebody wasn't really comfortable being interviewed, but I said, no, look, I have an accent, I'm on TV, and it's fine, you know, I'm going to edit the things. And then he agreed to the interview. So I was very happy and felt like, okay, it's so nice because I could make him feel better.
That's a great example. And when you do these types of stories, some of them get emotional, some of them are challenging. How do you take care of yourself afterward and really allow yourself to let things go at the end of the workday, and so you're not carrying them home with you?
Yeah, that's definitely hard. And one time that was very challenging for me because I did a story on a woman who lost her son to anorexia. And that really, she wrote a book. So I read the book before the interview. So that was already too, I don't want to say too much, but I was relating to it too much, you know, thinking about it too much basically. And it's definitely helpful to talk to family and friends about it afterwards, kind of to let get it out, but also on a daily basis, like when I feel really stressed, I go to the gym and run. That makes me feel better and kind of forget about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always helpful. I think exercise, and especially with your background in
Yeah.
volleyball and just in sports, you get rid of the mental through the physical.
Yes,
It's a good way
for
to do it.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious. One of the things that came up in some conversations that I've had with my friend Steve that I mentioned
Yeah.
is how he really had to change his use of social media when he started working as an anchor at King 5. Have you noticed? I was just thinking, when you came from college
Hmm.
and you can throw out, hey, had a great time with my girlfriends tonight, had a couple shots at the bar, and
Yeah.
now all of a sudden you are a face of the community, you're on air. Talk
Yeah.
about any changes you had to make to your social media habits, any scrubbing that you had to do, and how that's
Yeah.
been.
I always thought a lot about things I posted. So it's not that I was like carelessly posting bikini pictures or anything like that, or partying. So that's already something I was always thinking about. But of course, I still, and I could have created a new account for my job, but I also felt like that's not what people want, because also kind of our company or the channel, they kind of say that it would be good if people see our personality as well. You know, it shouldn't just be like, oh, today I reported on this here. It should be like maybe, oh, I have a pet and I show it, or, you know, like stuff like that. So people can relate to us or feel like maybe also they can approach us and share a story idea with us, I think. So I decided to make my Instagram account public, but and I still took off some pictures that I thought, okay, if anybody can see that now, then I still took out pictures that I was not comfortable with people seeing, maybe. And yeah, it's definitely weird to know, okay, everything is public about me now, and that also strangers contact me sometimes, you know, that didn't happen before. um yeah, I'm curious what your friend said, but yeah,
Yeah, he
Didn't
talked
change.
to he talked. I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
like you were way ahead of the curve. And look, my friend, same thing. It's not like he had these salacious photos on on his on his social media anyway. But I think it's just in the world we live in now, where news stations, they are relying on their personalities to also promote themselves and promote the station via social media. It's
Yeah.
another job for him. I've been out with
Yeah.
him and he's taking a picture of something so he can post it, and
Oh,
it's almost
really?
like part of the job description now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is the expectation. We are not being like held, we are not pressured to do it, so maybe I don't feel that yet. But I share all my stories on Twitter and Facebook, and I usually don't use Facebook and Twitter. So yeah, it does add something to it. It's just I'm not too much yet. That's good,
That's
but
good.
I
That's
can
good.
definitely see it, and it's weird to think, okay, now there's so much of me out there. That's a weird thought. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and especially talking about how you consider yourself kind of shy and reserved, that's got to be a big adjustment for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm on TV, so now I cannot say, oh, I'm shy, but like it's yeah, my personality is more I'm not super like an extrovert, no.
Yeah. If you could have lunch with or spend a day with one television news personality
Oh
and
God.
just pick their brain and try to take in as much from them as possible, who would you choose? And it could be someone who's still alive or someone who is no longer with us.
Oh God, I don't know. That's
Do you have any certain TV personalities that you most admire?
to be honest, not really. Um I'm like following a lot of different people and but not too specific, so there's nobody that like of course I would like to talk to national, international politicians, what like why they think the way they think or this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I have no journalists in mind right now. But yeah.
Are there certain people that you feel have been most influential to your career? You'd mentioned the internship that you had with the filmmaker, and would you consider that person one of the more influential people to your career? Are there others that you really point to that you feel like really helped you out?
Yeah, like I met a reporter through my previous job. So he has been very helpful because he gives me feedback to my stories and also honest feedback, which is good because I it's not helpful if somebody just says, okay, it's fine. So even though he has been tough sometimes, that's very good and helpful and also calming because he would say, yeah, it's normal that you're doing it like this now or things get better with time. And I edited a highlight video of myself, like a demo reel, like 2 months ago and then again yesterday actually, and I improved a lot, which I didn't think I did. So that's very nice that repetition really helps improve in this job. And also previous professors still support me and really also help me. And one of my previous professors, she worked as a reporter for many, many years and she was very, very good. So it's very helpful also to know her feedback. Yes.
And when you were learning and progressing toward being on air, I know the accent was a challenge, and you did a segment on ESL learners, English as a second language learners.
Yeah.
So that was kind of things coming full circle. What advice or tips do you incorporate for improving your accent, your pronunciation? Because even for people who English is their first language, your voice, your pronunciation, that's really your instrument for news reporting. So it's something that you always have to work on. And I'm thinking that you, given your position of having to overcome an accent as well, you could really offer some good advice to international students who are just trying to learn English and trying to improve their pronunciation and accent. So, what did you use that helped you the most?
Mm, For me right now, it's really feedback from other people. So if somebody says what sound isn't right, then changing that. For example, I don't know if I did that, but I mean I know there are a lot of sounds that sound weird probably to you. But for example, my CH sound sometimes it's more like sh and not ch, not strong, so not changes. So that's something I was like practicing. And for English learners, I think it would be best to really repeat the things the way Americans say them. Because for me, when I learned English in Germany, I always felt uncomfortable. This because it felt like exaggerating, this going up and down with the voice, the intonation, and that's something that I think would help the accent. If I would always go up and down with my voice. So I think for English learners, it's really helpful to watch American movies and series and then just repeat it the way they speak. And other than that, there's accent coaching. It's just very expensive, so I haven't done it yet. But I'm not opposed to it.
Do you do any tongue twisters to warm up?
No,
No.
no, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought up movies as well, because you had majored in journalism and PR, you minored in broadcast and cinema arts. So I wanted to have a
Mhm.
little fun and see if we could combine the two. So do you have any favorite movies that are focused on the news, on
Mm,
air personalities, or
Well, actually, like recently, I liked Inventing Anna because it was about the journalist mainly like reporting about her, and trying to get her to an interview. I think that was really good. And, in some situations I thought about, okay, what would I do? So that's nice. I like all those. I like romantic comedies. So sometimes romantic comedies have like a writer in them, right? So
for sure?
not many like news anchors, I feel like, but
So you haven't watched like Anchorman or The Morning
oh,
Show
that
or any of those type of?
no, I actually haven't.
Oh, you
Oh,
need to.
okay, okay,
Yes, put it on the list. Put Anchorman for some laughs and
okay.
Newsroom for some high pressure, high stakes, totally other end of the spectrum of TV reporting.
Oh, okay, yeah, then I will do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you bet. Are there any things that we haven't covered that you want to?
No, I think it's really just important that we, as international students, believe in our dreams and still try everything we can to achieve them. I think it's also good. What I think helped me was that, of course, I never said, oh, I would definitely be a news anchor one day or news reporter, but I always, when somebody would ask me what I would want to be, I always still said, I openly said it, which I think it's easy to not say, and not admit, oh, because some dreams are very big. But I think it helps to say the dream out loud because maybe your classmate or professor might help you in the future, or somebody you talk to. Because if you wouldn't talk about it, how are you going to, connect with people about it? So I think that's very helpful. That I think I like to tell people as advice.
Is the dream still to be an anchor?
I really like the job I'm doing right now. So sometimes in the morning, I anchor the morning headlines, which is, not the main anchor, but that's already part of it. So now I like having both because as an anchor, I don't know if I would probably not do stories and interview people. So I like reporting as well. So I will see what comes next.
Still finding your way.
Yes.
You're fortunate to be finding your way in a job and in a very enviable position that it takes a lot of people a lot of time to get. And I know you put in a ton of hard work to get there, and I'm glad that's paying off. And clearly, you have a ton of talent. And I hope you
Oh,
get to
thank you.
continue sharing that talent with the world. And thank you for the inspiration that you provided today to
Oh,
all
thank you.
international students.
Thank you so much. Really, I appreciate that, and I hope it helps somebody. And yeah, people can always contact me, like other international students, if they have any questions or need advice. Yeah.
That's great. we will take you up on that. We'll put all of your contact information in the show notes. And you already said you're used to people contacting you, strangers contacting you on social
Yeah.
media. So hopefully you won't mind a few international students from our show jumping
No,
in.
not at all.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you, Luisa.
Thank you. Bye.
Hola.
Xin chào.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ni hao.
Ma'assalam.